What's good, everybody? It's Mr. Composition MC that writes fiction. Drake was the first AI rapper. I seen this video, and it's interesting because, like, I'm into the AI. I'm a rapper myself, but of course, I'm into hip hop. And this angle is interesting. I don't know if I've reacted to this, person's videos before, but I've seen a couple of them. He's starting to pop up. I think it's Read My Soul, but I'll leave the full video in the description. So let's go ahead and check this out. It's an interesting angle.
There is a huge difference between being influenced by something and swagger jacking and biting something. One of the biggest critiques towards Drake is that he is a swagger jacker.
Yeah.
He is a biter.
Yo.
They often say...
Literally, there's a whole compilation of Drake just snatching niggas' whole shit. And they did this before with Jay-Z. There was this, I'm not a writer, I'm a biter. And it was like all the stuff that Jay-Z done used from Biggie and different things like that. They could be debated. That's the same question, like being influenced and swagger jacket, like straight up. But as far as the AI rapper, like what about homeboys used to say like Drake was like Kirby. He'll suck up the style and then spit it out, and then he has like the powers like that. And going at it from the direction of it being an AI is very interesting.
Is the highest form of flattery, but in hip-hop that is a no-no. You must come up with your own unique style and perspective, otherwise you're just Milli Vanilli. Drake has been masterful at this for years. This conversation in this video came to me when I was having a debate with a person about Drake's influence. I was speaking on Drake's thievery. I was speaking on how Drake steals and swagger jacks people. Other people were talking about the influence. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that Drake was influenced by Kanye, Andre 3000, Fontaine, Slum Village, Little Brother.
What up, Lil Bruh? What up, Slumville? Dedicate this to Kanye West, to Andre 3000, and to Fontaine of Little Brother.
That was extremely popular at the time. But what Drake failed to mention until years later is that he was trying to rap like Joe Budden.
You didn't just catch me out here, too. I came to support Joe. Just for the record of anybody watching.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, I came to support Joe.
Thank you very much.
See, people think Joe Budden is some podcaster or a one-hit wonder. Joe Budden is a way better artist
Mood
than
Music series, son.
He had a series called Mood Music that was extremely popular back then on the MySpaces, on the early blog era. And if you listen to that music and to that series, you know where Drake got his whole thing from.
Like Mr. Softy, they in the hood getting treated like Mr. Softy. Yeah. Slap the 4/5. If you believe that, then you believe Rick James got a natural cause.
That's true.
Cause up north is a scandalous spot. They think I'm pretty and rich, but pick one, I'm on a Canada block. And some sweatpants, sandals, and socks, cause I could do that.
The toxic way of viewing women in relationships, the emotional, introspective, woe is me raps, sad boy raps, he got all of that from Joe Budden. When I first heard Drake, I instantly heard Joe Budden. Now, of course, hip hop in its core is a genre that builds itself upon other genres. So you always gonna hear some type of influence. You're always gonna hear something else when you listen to certain artists, especially depending on what they're listening.
That whole Joe Budden thing kind of tripped me out because I ain't even. The thing was, I listened to a lot of the Mood Music. The tapes was fire, but during that time, I listened to a lot of Drake, and I didn't even realize that was. With the way that Joe was rapping, even the way he broke it down from the emotional standpoint and everything like that. Dang. That just makes their back and forth even more crazy. But Drake did do that crap. He shouted out to a bunch of legends as far as hip hop, real hip hop, and then just switched up. Other than Kanye, he didn't work with none of these people. A lot of people is just all like, yo, Drake on, Ninth Wonder, Fonte, different things like that. And it did not come about. He just straight up, bloop, 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 bloop. And then you can see him doing that in different aspects. That's why when Kendrick did that whole Atlanta breakdown, it was just all like, dang, man, like you ain't a fucking colleague, you a colonizer.
At that time. But there is a difference between influence and swagger jacking. Whenever Drake is trying to achieve a sound and he's trying to move in a different direction artistically, he literally takes a smaller artist and studies them and copies them and then give it out. Best example of that is XXXTentacion and Quentin Miller. Quentin Miller wasn't just some ghostwriter.
I was really excited. I thought I was gonna have a Drake feature because at the time Drake was just doing random features for just up and coming artists, you know. So I thought I was about to be one of those lucky artists.
Quentin Miller was working on music and was trying to be an artist himself. Drake made him into a ghostwriter, even though he was accredited, and basically took his words verbatim and laid them down.
You end up basically co-writing what became Used To, 10 Bands, Legend, and 6 Man.
Yeah.
And no, Drake did not put his arm around him like he did The Weeknd and say, this is the guy I'm working with, we're making music.
Yeah,
no, he wanted
was
to keep it
straight
under wraps as best as possible. It was not a collaboration the way Drake and his team likes to make it seem. Quentin Miller, he thought when he got the call from OVO that they were going to be working on music together.
Drake literally was looking me in my face like, yo, man, this album wouldn't be possible if it weren't for you. Like,
I would say if you're reading this, it's too late. Is my favorite Drake project, period. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you.
So I was editing this video and I realized I had to give y'all a crazy hot take for y'all to argue about in the comment section. Drake's best album is If You're Reading This Is Too Late. If you listen to Drake, that is his best album. I don't want to have no debate with nobody. I might make a video on it one day. We'll know who sees. If You're Reading This Too Late is Drake's best album. Get back to the video. When Drake wanted to
let me know in the comments.
UK grind
let me know in the comments. Do you think that that's
and
true?
He copied the XXX song Look At Me. When Look At Me was popping in the blogs and on SoundCloud, Drake used to upload a lot of songs to SoundCloud, so you know he was always watching, he was always paying attention to them little younger artists that were bubbling. No pun intended about messing with little younger artists, but that's what he would do when he was falling in love with Georgia Smith and he wanted to go into that more Afro beats type of vibe, that more how you say worldly music. He studied WizKid. This is what Drake has been doing. When he wanted that Atlanta sound, he studied and copied word for word Quentin Miller. This is what Drake does.
What's really going on? Soldier Boy, business starting on Reddit. What's happening?
Tell me.
I said, tell me what's really going on.
He copied my whole fucking flow. Word for word, bar for bar.
And he started that out years ago with Joe Button. Drake would never mention Joe Button. Remember, Drake is a master manipulator, and he's not who he portrays to be. Early on, he wanted to align himself with the backpack rappers, with the Kanyes, with the Slum Village, with the Little Brothers. So that's what it was in the public. But in the strip club and in the hookah club, he was with Joe Button, and that's where he got his influence from.
And you know what's interesting? Before we get into that, this video is sponsored by me. Hey, if you want to dive into new music, I have a catalog. Yeah, these are not singles. These are albums. But more recently this year, I did release an album called Tame Chaos. So you can listen, stream, download, purchase, all of that in the link in the description. And just, you know, check it out because I want to see if people are actually seeing this and going to the site. So anyways, and that Kanye goes on Drake Chaps and says that his whole persona as far as the backpack rap was him using to catapult. Like, I don't believe that. I think that was Kanye just talking ish, but sometimes we need to believe people when they say it because we be acting surprised. But I'm gonna leave this full video in the description. It's very, very interesting because, yeah, I mean, Drake would be considered with what AI what AI basically is doing as far as from learning, quote unquote, because it's being fed as far as other people's stuff and different things like that. That same concept is something that Drake has been doing, you know, and there's all of these examples. And honestly, that's what really, you know, pissed me off about Drake in that particular come up was just how he did underground hip hop super dirty. Because if you hear things like the comeback season, if you hear things like what was the project before that, like his first project, there was so much influence. Like there was a line Drake said where he was just like, "You ain't Morris Chestnut, you lighter than Let's Cut." Like that's when Drake was like barred up. He was, but it's like there was nothing wrong with him kind of doing his own thing to the things that he paid homage to. Like there wasn't an issue as far as the way that he did So Far Gone and the super Houston influence that that project was, but it still felt like he was doing his own thing with it. But it's like what he's doing now is just, it's weird. Maybe we should have said something back then, because at this point, he's basically doing the same thing he's been doing, but before he was praised for it, and now he's kind of, being demonized for it. Like, I think there's certain things that, and he brought this up, Read My Soul, at the beginning, where he brought up as far as like what's like paying homage and what is just straight up swagger jacking. And I think we need to have those things distinguished and nip it in the butt before things start going further, because it's just all like, if he's been doing this, it's not a surprise now, nor like we could call it out. But if at one point he was praised for doing it, that's where things get interesting. But I do think Drake's fall off is inevitable. At some point, he stopped being him. And this amalgamation of stuff is like this gunky Grimer Pokemon looking, creature. Yeah, and it just isn't looking good for Drake. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. It's Mr. Composition MC that writes fiction. Back at it with another reaction. Make sure you like, subscribe, notification bells on so you don't miss my next video on the road to 10K. Make sure to check out the description from music, books, comics, and more. All right, y'all.